Hey everybody, thank you once again for joining me on Check This Out. On this installment of Can a Truck Driver Cook? I would like to examine some other uses for treacle syrup, or better known as golden syrup. When I tried golden syrup for the first time in my previous video, where I made a treacle tart, I found myself intrigued by the flavor of this delicious syrup and wondered what other dishes I could use it in. Besides, I had some left over from the treacle tart. Here in the US, when we reach for syrup for a recipe, we usually reach for corn syrup as the sweetener of choice. Corn syrup works okay, but it's pretty much a one-trick pony. It's sweet, and that's about it. Just a one-note sweetener with no real depth of flavor. But golden syrup, on the other hand, has tremendous depth. Its flavor carries notes of caramel and toffee. So I asked myself, what recipes do I have that require a lot of corn syrup that I could replace with treacle syrup, and it would help take that dish to a whole other level? Then it came to me, pecan pie. Because pecan pie takes an entire cup of corn syrup for a single pie. Pecan pie is a staple in the southern US and is always a big hit, especially around the holidays with my friends and family, and every year it's highly requested. I'm always happy to fulfill their request because pecan pie is super simple and nearly foolproof. Really, if you can mix together butter, sugar, eggs, corn syrup, or in this case golden syrup, in a single bowl, stir in some pecans, then pour it into a pie shell, that's it. Bam, you've got pecan pie. So if you're as interested as I am in finding out what treacle syrup can do for the humble pecan pie, let's get over to the kitchen and find out. Okay, are you ready to find out if treacle syrup can make a better pecan pie? I sure am. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to need is flour, sugar, butter, lard. The combination of the lard and the butter, you get the buttery flavor from the butter and you get the flakiness from the lard. So there's really nothing better for any type of short crust or pie crust. Then we're going to need some vanilla extract, some eggs, and of course, what would a pecan pie be without pecans, or pecans, depending on what part of the country you're from. I'm using roasted pecans here. You can use the raw ones if you want to, but this nut shop here in Canton, Ohio has the absolute best pecans, and these are roasted. And last but not least, the star of the show, treacle syrup. I have a real feeling this is going to make the best pecan pie I've ever had. So that's a short list of ingredients. That's about all we need for our pecan pie. So let's go ahead and get started on the crust. Let's start off our pie crust with 1 3/4 cup of flour, half a teaspoon of salt, and let's pop the lid on there and just give it a few pulses. Okay, next up we need 5 tablespoons of very cold lard and 5 tablespoons of very cold butter cut into chunks. Now we want to give this just a few spins. We don't want this fat too fine. We still got some nice big pieces in there. That's as far as I want to take it. Now the next thing I want to do is take a 1/3 of a cup of very cold water, and we're going to spin it up and put in maybe half of it. Then check our dough to see if it's holding together. It's starting to. I think I can maybe use just a little bit more in there. There we go. That's holding together nice. And we didn't quite use the whole third cup. Now that we've reached this point, I want to bag it up, form it into a disc, and let it set for about a half hour in the refrigerator to firm all that fat back up. Then we'll start our rolling. Now that we have it out of the food processor, this is what we have. It looks like a loose mess. But believe me, once this hydrates, it'll be just fine. So what we're going to do right now is press it into a disc. It'll be hard to see on camera, but I can still see a lot of pieces of fat and lard through there. That's what's going to make our flaky crust. Okay, there's our disc. Let's get it into the refrigerator for about 30 minutes and come back and roll it out. Okay, our 30 minutes are up. Let's go ahead and get this thing rolled out now. Put a little bit of flour on. Not too much, we don't want to make it tough. And my 9-inch pie tin here. I'm probably going to roll this out to about 12 inches so we got enough for the fluting. Okay, it looks pretty good right there. There we go. That looks pretty good. Probably can't see it on there, but we still have some nice chunks of butter and lard through there. So this should be really flaky. Now let's go ahead and dock it. There we go. Put a piece of parchment in the bottom. Grab some baking beads. I like these ones on a chain here. They're a lot easier to get out than trying to do hot beans or hot baking ceramic beads or something like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and put this in the oven for about 15 minutes. Come out, remove the parchment and the baking beads, and then we'll give it about another 10 minutes. Been 15 minutes, there's our beautiful little crust. Now let's get these very hot baking beads out of here and pull off our parchment. Okay, now back into the oven for about another 10 minutes, just till it starts to get a little bit golden. Now if that's ready to go, we can set that aside and start our filling. One of the things I like about pecan pie is not only is it a big hit at the holidays, it's just so easy to do. So here's what we're going to need for our filling. We're going to start off with 3 eggs. Just give those a little mix. Next, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Go ahead and mix that in a little bit too. 1 cup of regular granulated sugar. And the star of the show, 1 cup of our treacle syrup or golden syrup, whatever you want to call it. And that's about it. All we do now is add our pecans, pour it into the shell, and we're ready to go. That's about 1.5 cups. That's what the recipe calls for. This is an 8-ounce bag. I figured, yeah, close enough. Okay, looks good. Let's get that into our pie shell. And in she goes. Now let's fit that with our pie shield. Go ahead and get that into a 350-degree oven for 60 to 70 minutes or until the internal temperature reaches 200 degrees. I had it at 375 for the pie crust. Once again, I forgot to mention that. So anyhow, we reduce it down to 350 and we're going in for 60 to 70 minutes. Okay, there we have it. Mine took about 75 minutes, and let's check the temperature of it. There we go. I was shooting for around 200. That looks pretty good, and it feels like it's set up. This is one pie you definitely don't want to eat hot, so I'm going to leave this set overnight, and we'll come back tomorrow, cut it, and take a taste test. It appears to have done okay, so let's cut into it and see how it's set up. Okay, it looks like it's set up pretty good. I'm going to put a little bit of whipped cream on for the thumbnail. So now's the big test. Does it taste any different than just a regular pecan pie? Let's try a bite. Wow, this is really fantastic. The treacle just really jumps out at you. If you didn't know it was in there, you just know that there's an extra layer of flavor. Just say, hey, this is a really good pecan pie. But I would say, if you want to take your pecan pie to the next level, try using the treacle syrup, or AKA golden syrup. Thank you once again for joining me for this little experiment to see if I could make a treacle pecan pie. I appreciate every one of you that have subscribed and liked. So please keep it up, keep cooking, and we'll see you next time on Check This Out.